Okay, we are on Daf Mem Gimel Amud Aleph. We're beginning with a biur about the mimer of the collector, and we're going to focus on this odd word, makoishesh, of sticks, who pluck sticks on Shabbos in the end of Parshas Shlach. Now, we've already made the statement about oisim retsone shel makom, that when the Jews do the will of Hashem, then others will take care of our material concerns, in contrast to when we don't fully do the will of Hashem, a limited execution of the will of Hashem, we will have to do it ourselves. Now, the term here that refers to Hashem is makom, usually translated as the place or the omnipresent, which references when Hashem fills all the world, that his place is the world, but the world does not contain him. As the pasuk says, Hine makom iti, the place is with me. And that's where it means that Hashem reaches out to the world, the head of the fox, to give life to even the lower parts, even the world. And again, the idea that Hashem descends to give life to that which is beneath him, namely the world, the place. What then does it mean we do the will of the makom? This refers to the keser, the crown of Rachel, because Hashem's words are forever in the heavens, like it says in Tehillim. And keser of Rachel is in the heavens. This is a reference to Zah, her husband, and the tesfiros, achreinos, and the subsequent 9 lower spheros. They alone come down into this physical world, into the world of Bria, again, the stage of awareness known as Bria. Now, in the middle of the night, this is the Nekuda of Rachel that is under the couch of Hashem, which praises and sings in this wondrous way. The light of Hashem, or the candle of Hashem, that goes up of its own to be subsumed within the midas of Yevasher, in that level of Atzilus, where God and all that he causes are evidently one. Like the pasuk says, that we will sing his praises, למען יזמרך כבוד, and forever we will acknowledge him, that David HaMelech, who was the model of the Mרכבה of the level of Malchus, and he sang the songs continuously in order that they become a vessel in which Hashem can manifest, like it's constantly saying Mizmor, the songs of David, like it says in the Zayar, that David is the glory, and this that is not just common. And therefore, it is possible that there can be this resting of b'chol nafshecha. We serve Hashem with all of our being, and yet, as we discussed earlier in the Maimer, it is still not qualified as doing the will of Hashem, and that's why we still have to be a sata diganecha. We still have to collect our own grain, because we are, quote, only serving Hashem with all of our soul and not all of our very being. And this is the love of Hashem, that is a quality of Seviv Kol Almin, of B'chol Me'aydecha, regarding which we say B'chol Nafshecham. If it's, quote, only that, then you have to collect your own grain, because it is a level that still needs to collect up the divine and elevate it through the mundane labors of plowing and so forth. And this is what Rabbi Shimon said, that a person should go around plowing in the story when he emerges from the cave. And again, because Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai still saw that as being very rudimentary, that a person had to go and collect up the godliness. But in the time of Mashiach, it tells us that others, that is, foreigners, non-Jews, will care for our flock, that they will be helping out the Jewish people to fulfill the mitzvahs, that they are obligated in the mitzvahs like a woman is obligated, like it says, then Hashem will transform, that we will all speak the same. And again, it's not just about the language, we will all be equally committed to the fulfillment of God's will. And then they will be helping the Jewish people, subservient to the Jewish people, and help them in their planting and so forth. But the Jewish people, when they will be in the level of B'chol Mo'yedechem, which we don't have now, as we don't say that phrase in the second paragraph of the Shema, that is, there will be a desire for Seviv Kol Almin, and not just going around collecting up the godliness in this world. Then we will not be dealing with makom, but it will all be available to us, which is not the case that it is in other formats, that there is a level that is above, the level that is Lamaila, where there has to be the eating of friends. And down here, where we have to strengthen ourselves, that we have to draw down from higher than time into time through Torah. However, in the time of Mashiach, that now we will be more like Rabbi Yishmael, that will say, we will conduct ourselves in the way of the world. Like it says, we will collect up the grain. And our sages say that people tried to emulate Rabbi Yishmael and they succeeded, unlike Rabbi Shimon, that people were not successful in this time of Gullus in emulating his behavior. Now, the Bechia, one of the commentaries on the Chumash, asks, why does it use this odd phrase in the description of the collector of sticks? And it says he was Mekoishesh Eitzim. We have a more simple term. You say Malaket Eitzim. He collected the sticks. Why does it use this odd phrase, Mekoishesh? So he explains that it is a remes to Mikav Shesh, from the 6 channels, meaning that it separates out into the 6 extremes. That is the 6 midos, as we will explain. What does it mean when it says on the pasuk ki boishesh Moshe? So we translate that Moshe hesitated, or Moshe was delayed. But we look at it's an odd word, boishesh, almost like from the word to be bashful. So we explained that he came bo'u sheish, he came in the 6th hour, or the 6th hour came and he didn't come. And in the Medrash, it explains that these are the 6 hours that they were expecting him to come, and yet he hadn't come. And now we explain what is the distinction of this concept of 6, that this is Tiferes, the blend of all 6 directions, the 4 directions and up and down. And 7 is the level of Malchus, like we talk about in the Sfiros, regarding which it says that on Sheva B'Yayim Hilalticha. The point being, like we say in Yecheskel, that our people claimed that God abandoned the world and he gave over the authority to the constellations and the stars that are rooted in the 4 camps of the Shechina, the face of the lion, of the ox, and so on. And that's why, or what led people or prompted people, gave them the excuse to go and say that they're going to build statues of oxen and so forth, thinking that Hashem had surrendered authority to the oxen. And like it says in the Medrash in Parshas Kisisa, that they went out and they angered him. The face of the ox turned to the left, that they separated out from the unity of Hashem. They saw these entities as being independent. And this was all done by the mixed multitude. But the Jewish people said, no, we are the people that Hashem created. And like it says again in the Medrash, there's the ox or the lamb. Reb Levi explained that it's like a queen who is suspected of infidelity with one of the officers, and the king does an investigation, and he finds that it's not true. So too, the nations of the world said that the Jewish people made the egel, and Hashem did the inspection, and it's not true. And that's why the karbonos start with the ox, because the ox represents the innocence of the Jewish people. He explains here that the Yidden davened after this whole story, and they asked if the Yid made the egel, and they said that this is their God, and they said, no, it wasn't us, it was those who left Mitzrayim, and the Yidden didn't say it. The Yidden didn't, it was the Erev Rav. And the Gemara tells us regarding when the verse that says that this one came and he received this one from that one to this nation, and explained that this nation is because the Jewish people unite Havaya and Elokim through believing in and accepting the idea of Hashgacha Pratis. Like it says, who is there like Hashem, who raises up those who dwell lowly? And the Mazolos and all the hosts of the heavens have no authority. They are only messengers, like an axe in the hand of the wood chopper. And this is what it means when it says Amzu, this attachment of the Jewish people to the 7th level of Zion, that is called Eretz, with the Vav, Zu, Zion, the 7, and the Vav, which is the Eitz HaChaim, that is also called Shemayim, which is the idea of drawing down from Orin Soif through this middle path. Like we say, Yochid Chei Ha'olami Melech, and this is the idea of Amzu Kanisa. Regarding this, we understand the sin of the Mekoishesh, because he plucked the tree, the wood, the tree of knowledge, from the tree of life, the Eitz HaChaim. And this is what it means, Mikoishesh, Mikav Shesh, like our sages say, that he separated out in the name of Hashem. He broke it apart and said Hashem is not in this place. And this is the idea that it says in Shir Hashirim that although I am darkened, that I have been made dark by the sun. And it means don't look at me that I am darkened, because the sun is the son of is a reference to Shemesh Havaya. And in the Parshas Tazri, it says that I've been made darkened. What does it say? Sheshezapsani, with two shins. It seemingly should have been written more reasonably with only one shin. That would have worked better with the proper dikduk. But this is an allusion to that which it alludes to, again, this idea of shesh, the two shins, the having been darkened by the sun. And this is the looking, this is that staring that has occurred. And this is through what is mentioned in the Medrash in the end of Shir Hashirim on the pasuk that says, my beloved ran away, and he is comparable to a deer. Just as a deer, when he sleeps, one eye is open and one eye is closed. So too, the Jewish people, when they do the will of Hashem, they are looked at with both eyes. As it says, the eyes of Hashem are to the righteous. And if they don't do the will of Hashem, he looks at them with only one eye, like a different pasuk which says, the ayin, the one eye of Hashem, is to those who fear him. That ends this summary. And there's a new mimer here, Amen Gimel, Amid Gimel. It's based on the pasuk that says, "V'haya lechem l'tzitzis," the end of Parshas Shlach, it will be for you as tzitzis, so you will see them, uzachartem, and you will remember. And it goes on and concludes again, Laman tizkaru. So the Alter Rebbe asked, and the purpose of this mimer is, what are the two different remembrances? Uzachartem, and then later Laman tizkaru. And also, how is the mitzvah of tzitzis a reminder of all mitzvahs? Now, tzitzis, the word, comes from the word for that which is looked upon. We bring a pasuk from Shir Hashirim that he looks from between the lattices, which suggests a glimmer, just an insight, that it radiates within a revelation of godliness, that is mamali kolam and seviv kolam, and all is north before him, the heavens above, the earth below, for only God's name can be grasped, his glory is on the heavens and the earth, his glory is the radiance, and so on. Now, this is the idea of revelation, the Giloi Mitzias, and not the Mahus. We know that God exists, but we don't know what God is. This is what can only be revealed in the heart of man. Like our sages say, the heart sees, meaning only the heart can see. And it's not sufficient for him, that can't be seen with the eyes. This is only through his intellect, his chabad, and that's why the chachamim are called the eyes of the community. And it has to then be spread out until it reaches down into the heart. That it should be that the heart sees and it senses and is affected through this vision, through this impact, this pachad, or this revelation of godliness that stirs up the fire within him. Because in order for the brain, or in light of the fact that the brain is primarily cool, it's compared to water, it doesn't react, the brain doesn't start to pulsate like the heart does, and it has a certain weightiness to it. Like we know that water, which the brain is compared to water, comes from above to below, it draws down, unlike fire, which goes up. Similarly, when a person sees and he understands something intellectually, even like in English we'd say, you see what I mean, it doesn't change the person, doesn't have that same type of excitement to change him completely. But he is where he is. Again, that's that weightiness, that sluggishness of intellect. But it's only when a person becomes impassioned by something that reaches to the depth of his heart, that's where the fire is, that fires him up and raises him up from alone, that he wants to even detach himself from the wick and have no rest until he is like chomping to get away from the material and become completely subsumed within the spiritual, like the fiery flame. And this is revealed within the heart of the person. This is indicated by the blue and the white of the tzitzis. The white is a fiery flame that it burns within the person. And the blue represents the reverence that is within the heart, like a blue flame. Like it's explained that the love on the white comes from the mayach, and the techelis from Abba, that Bina is the source of the fire in the heart, and Chachma is the source of Yirah, and the father produces the offspring, the level of Yirah Tata. And this is what it means, that there is no fear of God before him, that as long as he is in front of his eyes, it's only what he can see with his seichel, he's not going to have this emotional response of pachad. Pachad is only in the heart, that it falls upon him, this great trembling and so forth, because pachad is rooted in the fire element that's in the heart. Like the blue color of the flame in the candle down here, that's only literally where it is attached, that is, the flame is attached to the wick. Now, tzitzis is a feminine word. The Jewish people receive the feminine quality from that which is above, seviv kolaman. Like we said again in that pasuk in Shir Hashirim, meitzitz, that is, again, the term for vision through the lattice. Meitzitz is that which we can see, that which is impacted. It's a form of zachar mashpia, giving, that the Eibishter gives. He causes this impact on the Jewish people, that there should be this radiance that is revealed within his heart, the heart which sees, and it senses this overwhelming fiery flame of the Nefesh Elokis through these lattices, these windows that create the idea of the broken heart and the broken spirit. Like we say, pischuli, open up for me, as we explain in other places. Now, in Ois Beis, it says, this is what it means when it says in Shir Hashirim, I have taken off my garment. How shall I get dressed? I have washed my feet. How shall I allow them to become dirty? That this is a response to the Jewish people when it says, pischuli, now we're on to Daf Mem Gimel and Dalet, that Hashem said, because in light of the fact that Hashem radiates within the heart of the person, this pischuli, this opening, there has to be these two levels, the level of I have dressed and the level of becoming dirty. What is this idea of etnaf beim has become sort of dirty? That we start to make a cheshbon. We think about all of our unpleasant thoughts and activities and so forth, even the sins of our indulgence, that it's not enough that I did tshuva for them or I regret them. I've washed my feet. I've already done tshuva. How can they become dirty? How is it possible that I can go and again embarrass myself to remember them once again because it's so unpleasant? And my feet is a reference to that which stands me up of my nefesh elokis. But those past failings have to be constantly before my eyes so that I have that sense of, who am I kidding? I know my lowly status. And then there's that idea that I am dressed, as I explained, that Moshe davened 515 davenings, that's the gematria of the name of that Parsha Veschanon, that he pleaded before Hashem to allow him to go into the land of Israel. Why did Moshe want to go into the land of Eretz Yisrael? Because there's so many mitzvahs that can only be done there. Mitzvahs maisius that are done outside are only like compared to 20% of the 248 mitzvahs. And the other 80% can only be done in Eretz Yisrael. And only in the time of when the Beis HaMikdash is, the Karbonis and all of those laws. So there's just a tiny fraction, about 20% of the mitzvahs which can be done. Why was Moshe Rabbeinu so committed to doing mitzvahs maisius? Because, like he says in the pasuk in Veschanan, because it will be a righteousness that he will be able to observe the mitzvahs. Mitzvahs are all called righteousness, tzedakah. That just like by tzedakah is called a garment, like it says he is garbed in justice, and like it says that just like a garment is made up of many stitches, so too every act of tzedakah culminates in a larger consequence called pruta mitzarefes cheshbon agadol. So too by mitzvahs they are called garments, and every stitch are individual deeds that are all hanging on a thread, but yet they all come together and to create one big all-inclusive garment. Metaphorically, seviv kolaman, like it says, that which a person is found in the eyes of Hashem from beginning to end, meaning that just this is the intent of creation, that a person doesn't know what's going to go on. He doesn't know what's the head and what's the end, because at every level there is all the different virtues. There is the mineral, there is the vegetable, there is the living, there is the human, and the person, he seems to be at the top, and maybe sometimes he's on the bottom, or he elevates that which is on the bottom. Like we see that a person has to live from the animal, and the animal has to live from the vegetable, and the vegetable has to live from the mineral. So which is the top and which is the bottom? The man, the human, which appears to be the epitome of creation, is dependent on the mineral to give life to the vegetable and to the animal, to the person. So we don't know the top and the bottom. The beginning and the end are wedged in each other. Just like the Eibishter, in order for him to bring about his activities, or he has no end to his activities, because at every level we could say, well, this is the end, but now it becomes the beginning, because there is no beginning and end. So too, even within creation, there is no definitive top and bottom. So too in the garments, which are the mitzvah actions, and in general, the maisa of tzedakah, because he gives from the work of his hands, that he works with all of his soul. And that's why in the Yerushalmi Talmud, whenever it just says mitzvah, it's a reference to tzedakah, because it's so inclusive of the person's labors. Like it says, he goes before me in his righteousness. The glory of Hashem, he subsumes him. The glory is the levush, like Rabbi Yochanan said in the Gemara. He always referred to his garments as his glory, and they are included, they are subsumed within him, brought all together, like the beged, like the garment that protects the person. Like it says, Hashem protects you, that the mitzvahs, maisius, become a form of protection, even though the garment is something that is inanimate, yet it protects the person. So too the laws of Torah, even though they deal with very ordinary activities, they protect the person. And the love and fear, which are the sort of human characteristic, which reveal the pneumius and the essence of the person, like it says, the zois Torah Adam. And zois means that we see it, it's clear. Like we say, in this way, Aaron comes into the Beis Hamikdash. This is the techelis, this is the blue within the tzitzis, the pachad of Hashem, that is rooted in his heart. And just like you can't have the tzitzis unless you have the garment, so too you can't have Ava and Yir unless you have mitzvah action, which is that which is all inclusive. Like it says, 6 years you shall plant the seeds. And this is a reference to the 6 orders of the Mishnah. And 6 years you shall prune your vineyard. These are the 6 orders of the Talmud. And you will gather in your harvest, that is, you will gather it into yourself. Like it says, Talmudu b'yadai, and through this, it will be the glory of Hashem included within him.